You know what's wild? While everyone's fighting over the last Tesla Model 3 on the lot, or waiting months for that new Rivian, there are electric vehicles sitting at dealerships right now, often discounted, that'll do everything you need for way less money. Some of these EVs have better range than you'd expect. Others? They're so practical, it's embarrassing how many people skip right past them. By the end of this list, you'll know exactly which budget EVs deserve a second look and which ones might actually be perfect for your situation. 1. Chevrolet Bolt. EUV. Picture this. You're at a Chevy dealership, and the salesperson keeps steering you toward their hybrid options. Meanwhile, sitting in the corner with barely any fanfare is a vehicle with 247 miles of EPA range, tons of actual usable space, and a price tag that makes luxury EV owners do a double take. The Bolt EUV, that's the slightly bigger version of the regular Bolt, costs around $28,000 after federal tax credits. We're talking about a legitimate crossover with real back seat room, not some cramped hatchback pretending to be practical. My neighbor traded in his Prius for one, and the first thing he said? I didn't realize how much I was compromising before. Here's what makes this one interesting. GM learned hard lessons from the original Bolt's battery recall drama. The newer batteries are solid, and the company's so confident now they're actually extending warranties instead of playing defense. That's not something you see often in the EV world. The charging speed isn't going to blow your mind. It peaks around 55 kilowatts. But for a commuter vehicle that you plug in at home every night, does that actually matter? Most people never road trip more than twice a year anyway. And here's where most buyers get burned. They assume affordable EV means stripped down penalty box. The Bolt EUV comes with Super Cruise on higher trims. That's hands-free highway driving, the same tech Cadillac charges a fortune for. The math changes everything. 2. Nissan Leaf, 2023 plus models. A guy in my apartment complex drives a 2023 Leaf, and I used to feel bad for him. Then he told me what he pays monthly. Then he told me he's had 0 issues and 40,000 miles. Then I stopped feeling bad. Most people dismiss the Leaf because it looks like something your aunt would drive to her book club. They're not wrong. It does look like that. But that boring exterior hides something actually compelling. Nissan figured out how to make an EV that just works without making you feel like a beta tester. The newer Leafs fixed the big problem with the older ones, those ancient battery packs that degraded faster than a politician's promises. The battery chemistry changed for 2023, and the thermal management got better. Range sits at around 212 miles for the base model, which is honest range. Not under perfect conditions with no AC range. Actual I drove it like a normal person range. Here's the controversial part. The Leaf uses CHAdeMO charging instead of the CCS standard everyone else uses. Industry experts keep predicting CHAdeMO will disappear. They've been predicting that for 5 years now. Meanwhile, there are still plenty of CHAdeMO chargers around, especially in urban areas and along major routes. Price? You can find these starting around $29,000 after incentives. For that money, you get Nissan's Pro Pilot Assist, which is genuinely good adaptive cruise control and a cabin that's actually nicer than you'd expect. Is the charging standard situation ideal? No. But if you charge at home 95% of the time, that question gets a lot less important. 3. Hyundai Kona Electric. Here's a test. Ask any automotive journalist which affordable EV they'd actually buy with their own money. Half of them will say the Kona Electric, usually after a long pause where they realize they've been overlooking it. The 2024 Kona Electric got a complete redesign, and Hyundai did something smart. They made it look like a regular car instead of a sci-fi experiment. The range is legit at 261 miles, and it charges way faster than the Bolt, hitting 102 kilowatts peak charging speeds. That's the difference between a lunch stop and a stretch-your-legs stop on a road trip. What really separates this from the pack? The warranty. Hyundai covers the battery for 10 years or 100,000 miles. That's not a typo. They're basically saying, this thing will outlast your attention span in corporate speak. The handling is surprisingly tight for a small crossover. Car and driver clocked it at 6.4 seconds 0 to 60. You're not buying this to drag race, but it's quick enough to make merging and passing feel effortless. There's something satisfying about silent acceleration that catches people off guard. But that's not even the most interesting part. The Kona Electric qualifies for a bunch of state and local incentives that some other EVs don't, depending on where you live. In some markets, that drops the effective price under $25,000. Suddenly, you're in Corolla money for a vehicle that costs basically nothing to fuel. 4. Mazda MX-30. I can already see the comments. The MX-30? With that terrible range? Look, I get it. The 100-mile EPA rating is laughable in 2024. This vehicle makes no sense as a road tripper. But here's what nobody talks about. For a certain type of buyer, this might actually be perfect. The MX-30 exists in this weird space where Mazda decided to make an EV that drives like a Mazda first and an EV second. The interior is genuinely premium. Cork trim, high-quality materials, the kind of attention to detail that Mazda obsesses over. It feels like a $40,000 vehicle inside, which is good because it used to cost close to that. Now, dealers are desperate to move these. You can find them heavily discounted, sometimes under $25,000 after incentives. At that price, the equation shifts. Think of it as a luxury city car with an electric powertrain, not as an EV trying to compete with everything else on this list. The rear-hinged back doors are either charming or annoying, depending on your parking situation. They make the vehicle look distinctive, and they actually work pretty well for loading stuff in tight spots. You just need to remember they're there. Range anxiety is real with this one. No point pretending otherwise. But if your daily commute is under 40 miles and you have home charging, you'd literally never think about it. The MX-30 becomes this quiet, smooth, weirdly satisfying daily driver that costs pennies to operate. That's what you're really paying for. 5. Volkswagen ID.4. Back in 2021, the ID.4 was the hottest thing in the affordable EV space. Then supply chain issues hit. Then software problems surfaced. Then everyone moved on to the next shiny thing. Which means right now, you can actually find these sitting on lots with real discounts. The ID.4 offers something most budget EVs don't: legitimate space. This isn't a compact crossover pretending to be roomy. The back seat is adult-sized, the cargo area swallows an honestly impressive amount of stuff, and the driving position feels substantial. It's sized like a Tiguan, which for VW buyers, that comparison means something. Range varies by trim, but the rear-wheel drive version hits 275 miles EPA. The Pro SAWD drops to 255 miles, but you get significantly better winter capability and that Volkswagen all-wheel drive system that's been refined over decades of making GTEs and Rs. Volkswagen's 3 years of free charging at Electrify America stations is the kind of perk people forget to calculate. If you road trip even occasionally, that's real money. The network isn't perfect. What charging network is? But it's expanding, and the stations are generally reliable. The controversy around VW's software has mostly been overblown. Early cars had glitchy infotainment systems. Updates fixed most of it. Some owners still complain. But if we're being honest, name a modern car where nobody complains about the touchscreen. So which matters more, having the newest hotness or having a capable EV at a discount? The answer might surprise you. 6. Chevrolet Bolt EV, pre-2024. Used market, 75%. That's the number that changes everything. Used Chevrolet. Bolt EVs from 2020 to 2022 depreciated roughly 75% in some markets after the battery recall news hit. Verify depreciation figures. Everyone panicked, prices collapsed. Then GM replaced basically every affected battery with brand new ones. For free. You know what that means? There are 3-year-old Bolt EVs driving around with brand new battery packs, often with full remaining warranty, selling for under $15,000. Let that sink in. The math is absurd. For the price of a used Honda Civic, you can buy an EV with 259 miles of range that's essentially been refurbished by the manufacturer. The battery, the most expensive component, is new. The rest of the car was already proven reliable before the recall. Mechanics will tell you the Bolt is one of the simpler EVs to work on if anything does go wrong, which is rare. There's no complicated air suspension, no gimmicky doors, Just an electric motor, a battery pack, and the basic stuff every car has. Simplicity ages well. The catch? You need to verify the battery replacement was completed. Get the service records, make sure it's done. But if it is, you're essentially buying a refreshed vehicle at fire sale prices because people have short memories and scared easily. This might be the single best value in the entire used EV market right now. And here's where most buyers get burned. They don't even look at the Bolt because they heard recall and moved on. Their loss. 7. Kia Niro EV. Unlike the previous vehicles, the Niro EV doesn't scream, "I'm electric," from a mile away. It looks like a normal Kia crossover, which is exactly the point. Some people want to make a statement with their vehicle. Others just want reliable transportation that doesn't burn gas. The Niro EV delivers 253 miles of range in a package that feels refreshingly normal. The seats are comfortable for long drives. The controls make sense without consulting a manual. Your parents could drive this thing and never feel confused. That's harder to achieve than it sounds. Kia loaded this thing with standard features that other brands make you pay extra for. Heated seats, a decent sound system, smartphone integration that actually works. It's all there from the base trim. The brand learned from Hyundai's strategy. If you want people to take your EVs seriously, don't make them feel like they're being punished for not buying the premium model. The driving dynamics won't excite anyone. This isn't a hot hatch, but it's competent, predictable, and comfortable, which for a daily driver, those qualities matter more than 0 to 60 times. It does exactly what you bought it to do without drama. One thing that separates Kia from the competition: their dealer network actually seems to understand EVs. They're not trying to talk you out of buying electric or pushing hybrid alternatives. They trained their people. It shows. Is that worth the premium over a used Bolt? We'll come back to that question. 8. Mini Cooper SE. Most people have never seriously considered a Mini as their primary vehicle, and honestly, the owners seem to like it that way. The Mini Cooper SE is the weird one on this list. It's tiny, genuinely small in an era when compact means slightly smaller than a battleship. The range is just 114 miles EPA. It seats 4 people, but those back seats are theoretical at best. On paper, this thing makes no sense. In practice, it's absurdly fun. The instant torque from the electric motor makes this little car feel like a go-kart that won the lottery. It corners like it's on rails. The tight turning radius means you can park basically anywhere. It's hilarious to drive in a way that most EVs, most cars, period, just aren't. The interior has that mini charm that people either love or find completely over-designed. Lots of circular shapes, toggle switches that feel premium, ambient lighting that's actually thoughtful. It feels special in ways that a Nissan Leaf objectively doesn't. Here's the thing about the limited range. If you live in a city and your daily driving is under 50 miles, you're never going to care. You charge it twice a week at home, and the rest of the time you're having more fun than you probably should be. Insurance is shockingly reasonable because it's classified as a compact car, not a performance vehicle. Current pricing hovers around $30,000 after incentives, which is a lot for something this compromised. But compromise isn't always bad. Sometimes it just means the vehicle knows exactly what it is and doesn't apologize for it. 9. Fiat 500e. I can already hear it. A Fiat? My cousin's was a disaster. The old 500e, the compliance car that Fiat only sold in California, and only because regulations forced them to. Yeah, that was problematic. The new 500e, the one they actually designed to be a real product? Completely different story. The 2024 Fiat 500e is legitimately adorable, which sounds like a criticism, but it's not. In a market full of aggressive-looking crossovers and angry-faced sedans, the 500e looks friendly. It's expressive without being cartoonish. The design works. Range sits at 149 miles, which for a city car, that's plenty. You can fast charge to 80% in about 30 minutes, and the onboard charger is efficient enough that home charging overnight is effortless. The interior is surprisingly nice. Better materials than you'd expect, a clean layout, good visibility. The handling is playful. It's light, responsive, eager to change direction. You can feel the Italian influence in the steering calibration. It drives like a Fiat should drive, just without the engine noise and maintenance anxiety that traditionally comes with Italian cars. There's a documented case of someone in Rome who uses theirs as a taxi. After 180,000 kilometers, the only maintenance was tires and one set of brake pads. That's the benefit of electric: fewer things to break. Pricing starts around $32,000, but dealers are often willing to negotiate because Americans are still suspicious of Fiat. Their loss, honestly. The window might not stay open forever. If people start catching on, these deals disappear. 10. BYD Dolphin, where available. I saved this one for last because most Americans reading this can't buy one yet, but that's exactly why it matters. BYD, Build Your Dreams, is a Chinese automaker that most people outside Asia have never heard of. They're the world's largest EV manufacturer by volume, not Tesla, BYD. They sell over 3 million EVs annually, and the Dolphin is one of their most popular models globally. The Dolphin offers 211 to 340 miles of range depending on battery size, costs the equivalent of around $14,000 to $18,000 in China, and features build quality that genuinely competes with established brands. It's not a penalty box. It's not a compromise. It's just a competent, affordable electric car that does everything most people actually need. Why does this matter for a budget EV list? Because BYD is expanding into Europe and other markets aggressively. They're building factories in Mexico. The odds of these vehicles becoming available in North America within the next few years are high. When they do arrive, they'll completely change the conversation around affordable EVs. The technology inside is legitimately impressive. BYD makes their own batteries, blade batteries that are structurally integrated and show excellent safety records. They control their supply chain vertically, which is how they keep costs down. They're not trying to be premium. They're trying to make EVs accessible. Legacy automakers are genuinely worried about BYD, which tells you everything you need to know. When established brands start lobbying against competition, it usually means that competition is legitimate. The Dolphin and vehicles like it represent where the budget EV market is heading: capable, affordable, and increasingly unavoidable. This isn't speculation. The numbers don't lie. BYD sold more EVs last quarter than most brands sell total vehicles. They're coming, and when they arrive stateside, everyone on this list will need to adjust their pricing or offer more value. That's good for consumers. That's good for the EV market. That's good for everyone except the companies that got comfortable. So here's the reality. Budget EVs don't have to mean cheap EVs. These vehicles, from the practical Bolt EUV to the playful Mini, from the surprisingly capable Kona to the future-focused BYD Dolphin, prove you can go electric without taking out a second mortgage. The perfect budget EV depends entirely on your situation. Long commute? Bolt EUV or Kona electric? City driving only? Mini Cooper SE or Fiat 500e? Want the best value in the used market? Pre-2024 Bolt with a replaced battery? Want to future-proof? Keep an eye on that BYD. Which one would you actually buy? Drop a comment and let me know if I missed any hidden gems in the affordable EV space. Hit that subscribe button if you want more real talk about cars without the marketing nonsense. And remember, the best EV is the one that actually fits your life, not the one with the fanciest badge. I'll see you in the next one.